Your Sacramento Kings back in the country now. The one, the only, the talented, Kayte Christensen. Good morning, Kayte.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Hey, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
It's all right. Hey, by the way, I just realized when I said I'll be riding your back this summer, that implies that you're riding my back otherwise. And I didn't mean it like that. I meant like it's a 50-50 thing, but then like when I'm really going to be, you're the baseball fan. You didn't take it like that, did you?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Hi, Kayte.
Glad you guys got that sorted out.
You know, that's how issues start, Kayte. You got to nip them in the bud. You know what I'm saying? You can't let them fester.
Oh, of course.
Hey, what's a spray 3? Why is this wait, I'm sorry, I lost you there. What is a spray 3?
A spray 3 is when you touch the paint with the dribble and then you kick out for a 3.
Is this
or
a new word?
It can be an offensive rebound for a kick out for a 3.
So
it's kind of new. It's kind of newer terminology.
I'm hearing this a lot.
It's definitely a very common term now, but you know, it used to just be like a kick out 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just a new way of saying
term.
a kick out 3.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, okay. I guess that kind of.
You just don't like the term spray 3.
It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't like it. It's that
it's new.
It's new, and I hear it everywhere now. And it made me angry at first because I'm like, I don't know what that is. I feel stupid, and then I know what it is. And I'm like, well, that's a kick out 3. Like, are we just arbitrarily changing terminologies? Like, is an alley oop someday going to be a zipsy noodle?
There's so many different things that have changed. Like even like coverages, right? Like you hear us say up to the level a lot. Like there used to be things like hedge. So like all of that stuff, you know, you hedge the screen, right?
What's that? Tell everybody what hedging the screen is.
Hedging the screen was just like basically being up to the level, which is like when the screen is set, instead of being like in that drop where the player can go, your defensive, you know, teammate can go under, you kind of hedge so that you're level with the guy setting the screen. Does that make sense? Instead of being in the drop, like either several steps back, which we talk about all the time, or even just dropped back enough for them to go underneath the screen, but over the top of you. Like there's so many different terminologies that has changed over the years. And it's frustrating to me too. It is, because a lot of times I'm like, wait, what are they calling that now? You know?
Right. And Jason, also hedging the screen. I think it was a Coen Brothers movie in the 90s. It was a sequel to Waiting for Guffman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson was in it.
It was okay.
Yeah. Kayte, what would be your terminology for the loss last night?
Disappointing. I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I had a migraine yesterday and didn't feel well, so I went to bed early. And I had I'm like, I have a couple days to watch it, and you know, saw the score.
Migraine will come back, dude. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't just chew Verapamil.
Listen, like there's certain things, like I can tell you, like the schedule recently has been really brutal, and you know, it's like 5 games in 7 days, and I thought they played really, really well coming back against Philly, the first game back home after a road trip, and like we landed on Sunday at 3:30 in the morning, you know, and then you kind of to adjust to the time zones. You've been from, you know, Toronto to DC to Orlando, then back to Sacramento. And there's, you know, I say it quite a bit, like sometimes you play the schedule, sometimes the schedule plays you. Tough back-to-back, you know, Dallas, you know, in the same situation. They just obviously, you know, I will say this. If you don't have, you know, multiple guys in the starting lineup, like scoring at a high level, like that's not a big night for De'Aaron. That's not a big night for Domas. Like you're completely, you know, putting yourself in a situation where it's going to be hard to win games, especially against an offense like, you know, Dallas that has the ability to have multiple 20, 30 point scorers.
Kayte joining us. So Kayte, and let me get through this. Don't get mad. So full disclosure, when we at the top of the show, when I announced you know, what was coming up on the show and that you joined us at 9, I said, Kayte will join us and make excuses about the schedule. But let me finish. Then I spent the entire show talking about how playing 5 games in 7 nights, including an international game, is actually, if not an excuse, seriously a factor it has to be a factor in why they were with them the whole first quarter. They were down 5 at the half and then just get absolutely toasted by a team they were 2-0 against. Granted, a little bit of a different team, but 2-0 against earlier this year, that lines up with fatigue. So I was having fun with you, but also agree that, and I want you to, because look, we're not trying to do the whole moral loss, excuse, bloody blah thing. But seriously, and I ask you to do this sometimes because you are there. You are on the road. Yes, you're on a private plane. Yes, you're in a 5-star hotel. Yes, you guys are you travel differently with NBA teams than you would if you and I were flying to Phoenix with Melissa to play golf. Like, we get that. But without hanging on as an excuse, just do me a favor and just describe why it's different and why it's taxing doing 5 games in 7 nights.
Well, the travel is a component, right? Time zones, that type of thing, schedule. It's just like your sleep schedules. And I'm going to be completely honest, you guys, like, I am so depleted right now at this point in the season. Like, I'm barely hanging on, trying to function to get through the last few weeks of the season, and really hoping and praying that the Kings land in 6, just so that I can get some time off to just feel like a normal human being. So when I'm, being honest and saying that, can you imagine how the players feel? They're the ones physically going out and having to perform and having to mentally plan and prepare for games and have the focus and attention to detail. And, it's crazy. I've heard a lot of talk of strength of schedule kind of coming down the stretch and stuff like that. And I believe the Kings are 3rd toughest schedule remaining. But they've had the 3rd toughest schedule in the league since day one of this season. So you can break it up in different parts and say, oh, well, this stretch and da-da-da-da and so on and so forth. The reality is they've played a really, really brutal, and that's just that's just how the cookie crumbles, if you will, in the NBA. And, I'm always very hesitant to make what are termed as, quote unquote, excuses. It's not an excuse; it's a factor, right? And it's a very real thing. Yeah. And you look at Boston the other day. What are sports talk radio guys in Boston saying after their loss? You know what I mean? It happens to everyone. No one plays a perfect season. That's why no one's ever gone to 82-0. What the Warriors did several years ago, that was crazy and an anomaly and all of these things. And so I understand, especially at this point in the season, just how demoralizing a loss like last night can be. But there's a couple of things where you have one more against Dallas. You've got one more against New Orleans, who you have not performed against. And so, I believe there's one more against Phoenix.
Yeah.
And, Dallas and Phoenix are teams that, the Kings are kind of in that hunt with, back and forth with the 6th to the 8th, so on and so forth. And, New Orleans is a team that has completely dominated and owned you. So you have an opportunity, but it's stressful and there's a lot of anxiety, right? You can, quote unquote, control your own fate. But it's, you still have to play out the schedule and just kind of, where you land is where you land.
Yeah. Talking with Kayte Christensen, Kings TV analyst. Kayte, last night, again, just another reminder, when you see opposing teams in person, and you'll get to see them again on Friday, there's so many great players in this league, and they're great for different reasons. Whether it's, just the other night, Tyrese Maxey, a really good player, and you can just see his quickness, how it's really tough to stay in front of him. Last night, there's a guy like Luca who is so unique to me, where there's nothing in the flashy part of his game. The athletic ability, he's not the quickest, we all know that, doesn't jump the highest, but his overall skill and his ability to make it look incredibly easy. I mean, he can get his shot with double coverage. He can throw it a pass in the shot pocket of a offensive player. I mean, he can be frustrating to watch as someone, I think, that complains a lot, but appreciating his skill set, I kind of marveled at him last night. I just think he's absolutely incredible. That's not an earth-shattering statement, but I just love your appreciation or your thought on when you watch Luca play, what makes him so good.
So we talk a lot about athleticism in this league. And, that's an advantage for some people, and some people don't have that, explosive athleticism. But it doesn't mean that they're not a tremendous talent, right? Like Luca falls into that category. Nikola Jokic falls into that category. Like with the eye test, if you will, like you look at them and they're like, oh, they're slow. They don't have great lateral movement. Like they're kind of, but they have size. Size is a big thing. And they have a tremendous fundamental like skill set. And this is not a new revelation for them. They weren't athletic and then all of a sudden they're not athletic. So they've been trying, you have your particular skill set, and over the course of your career, you fine tune those things to how you can gain an advantage, given what you're working with. And, Luca's a tough one for me because, if I have my top 5 list of players that I cannot stand watching, he's on that list, but I 100% can say he is a phenomenal talent, right? To me, it's some of the other things to watch, right? It is the complaining, it is that kind of stuff. And then from a player perspective, there's been so many games where I'm like, wow, that's the type of player that probably I wouldn't have liked to play with, because you can go stretches of a quarter and feel like you're not even involved in the offense. Like you're not contributing. You're just basically there to get rebounds and, kick it out and let him go at it again. So, and the really puzzling thing, right, with him is that we can all say that he's an all-star, that he's a phenomenal player. The numbers he puts up are insane. But like the one thing he hasn't gotten yet is he hasn't won at a high level. And so that's a knock. And like, how do you not win with Luca and Kyrie? Like, there's things like that where you're kind of sitting back and it's puzzling. And because he is the face of the franchise, like a lot of that criticism, is going to fall on him. Right. So, I think it's still technically an experiment in Dallas, and you can look at Trae Young as the same way. You can look all throughout the league at players that are just really fantastic, but say that again.
No, go ahead. It was Chris accidentally hit the wrong button. Go ahead. Continue your thought.
Like they're fantastic, and they're, it's like you can say, wow, they're amazing NBA players, but why can't they win? Why isn't their team winning? Why can't they put people around them that win?
Kayte Christensen joining us. I am going to reach into my pocket and throw out a massive curveball right now because this is a developing story, and I can't think of anyone better to have on with us right now for this story than you, Kayte. TMZ is reporting, and TMZ, if we know anything, 100% of the time gets things right. That in the WNBA last year, the highest paid player was Erica Wheeler at $242,000. That's a couple grand more than Sabrina Ionescu and some of the other highest paid players in the WNBA. I say that for context because TMZ is reporting now that Ice Cube has offered $5 million to Caitlin Clark to play in his 3-on-3 league this season. $5 million for the season. She's expected to go number 1 in the draft to Indiana. Her contract with Indiana is expected to be slightly higher than the 242, but certainly not in the $5 million range. Apparently, there's like 2 big 3 games that would conflict with Indiana games this season. But now all of a sudden, she has the opportunity, not counting endorsements or anything, but to make 25 times more in one season than she would make in the WNBA. Kayte, if you're Caitlin Clark, and obviously for those of you who don't know, Kayte played in the WNBA. She's not just an analyst, she's also an athlete. If you're Caitlin with all this going on, obviously she'd be playing with all the men. That would be a whole thing as well. Would you either I'll give you 3 choices. Take the deal, force Indiana to let you take the games off to play. B, skip a year, take the deal, and then Indiana secures your rights. Or C, don't sign the deal, don't screw around with the big 3, and go to the WNBA.
That's a really tough question.
I feel like it's not, though, but you'll tell us why it is.
Yeah, so obviously, money is a factor in the WNBA, and
Yeah.
it always has been. And I don't think it's never going to be on equal, playing field with the NBA. First of all, it's a much shorter season, so you consider it like half of the NBA season, right? A little bit under. And so, okay, well, does that mean over a course of an 82 game season that they would be making, 600,000 or 550,000 or whatever it is, right? It's still so different. I mean, you look at just the bonus alone for players that played in the in-season tournament this year, which was an experiment. Like the bonus alone for that, for the team that won, it was like $1 million a piece, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like it's crazy when you think of that. And so I think there's this component of it where the 3-on-3 thing is almost like a little and one tour type thing, like I think it comes down to the athlete in particular. Like, do they want to play basketball or do they want to kind of play in something that is a little bit more of a circus type, entertainment venue?
With generation, and by the way, just to underscore your point, I'm looking it up here. So the vet minimum, which escalates for every year of service, the vet minimum in the NBA for 1 year of service is $1.8 million.
Yeah.
The WNBA operates under a team salary cap of $1.46 million divided amongst 11 or 12 players. Now, we're not getting into salary equity, and that's a whole different Donahue. Point being, just underscoring your point, Katie and Jason, that this is generational wealth. This is more than she can make in 25 seasons in the NBA. And on top of that, I got to think it's not going to hurt her endorsement deals.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I mean, like, I think a lot of people that think in terms of just money alone, like, yeah, absolutely, you take that, you take that deal. The WNBA is never going to allow you to do both. It comes down to, we're making this investment, quote unquote, in you. You play for our team. If you're not available or you get hurt doing that, like, how does that impact, it's a money-making thing for the franchise, right? But here's the thing, like, you look at Caitlin Clark, and I'm sure you guys have seen the lines, like, just stretching for hundreds and hundreds of yards outside of buildings for people to get in and see Caitlin Clark play in college basketball, right?
Yes.
And
outselling the men's tournament right now. Men are getting better ratings. I saw that yesterday. Women, I think the pricing was something like 4 times what the men were. So you're seeing a lot of growth there.
Yeah. So you can see what a player like that brings to a franchise, right? And it's like, okay, there's been several players in the WNBA recently that are, look at what happened, at the 3-point competition in the NBA this year. Like, there are a lot of eyes on particular players in the WNBA, and the talent in the WNBA has grown exponentially since I played, almost 20 years ago, right? And you cannot deny that the product is better. But I'm telling you this right now, the salary has not gone up very much since I played. And that's the puzzling thing to me, because you have to believe that these TV contracts, that the endorsements, the jersey sales, like Indiana, if Caitlin Clark goes there and plays there, they're going to make so much money just off of her jersey sales. She's not going to touch a fraction of it. And so it kind of is reminiscent to me a little bit of the NIL money with college basketball, and, I don't know if anyone's seen the Fab Five documentary, the ESPN 30 for 30, the I Hate Christian Laettner thing, which always is a kind of a topic that comes up during the NCAA tournament, one of the most hated players in college basketball. Like, you look at that, and this relates to Sacramento in the sense that, Chris Webber, when he was there, that Fab Five group, Jalen Rose talks about it in the documentary. Media members that were close to that group talk about Chris Webber being like, I don't have, like, can I borrow money for a slice of pizza?
Right.
Like, it's crazy how much money Nike made off of them, the college made off of them, and they don't touch it. So the NCAA has addressed that with the NIL money. But I still think when it comes to women's professional basketball in the WNBA, there's a huge lag there. And so I don't know if this offer from Ice Cube is going to be the factor that shifts things and says, okay, we have to allow, higher salaries. We have to figure out something because now we have competition on our soil.
Yeah.
And this isn't just like, Diana Taurasi, who I played with in Phoenix. And from the moment she left college, she came to the WNBA, then she immediately went overseas and started playing in Russia. And she played year round for over a decade with no break. Like NBA players don't do that. The tax that it puts on your body is unreal, And so, but it wasn't a direct competition. And she did 1 year, like you had professional teams overseas saying, we'll pay you X amount of money, $1 million, $2 million, to not play in the WNBA this season and just take a break. Let your body heal. And it's also a thing of like, when you're playing constantly, because I did it, there's literally no time for actual skill development because you're constantly practicing. You're constantly playing games. You're constantly managing your body. So there's really not a whole lot of time to where you can break down and work on a skill set and say, hey, I'm going to do this for 2 weeks. I'm going to do this for a month. This is what I'm trying to get better at. It's like a grind and you're playing. So now that you have, the 3-on-3 league and Ice Cube willing to offer up money, now they have actual competition on their home soil simultaneously at the same time that their season is going on. So will this offer be the thing that kind of breaks the dam and says, hey, some stuff has to change or else, we're going to lose some players that are massive money makers for this league?
Well, we got to go, and that's a hell of an answer. And I'm saying she's got to take the money. Screw it. WNBA has no leverage. They have no leverage, right?
She gets so many endorsements now, too. It's not $5 million worth, but
I'm saying
that's if you're doing it for money.
I'm saying she can take the endorsements. She can break some barriers, get paid $5 million, play 12 games or whatever in the big three, and then.
But I'm going to say this: it's such an individual thing, Dave, because I don't know Caitlin Clark from Adam, right? But what I do know about her and what I've seen in the coverage, she has always, from her childhood, been an ultra competitive person. And so to play in a 3-on-3 league, in her mind, is that match? Is that something that's alluring to her, or is it like
playing against the men? In the 3-on-3 league.
But it's not the same as quote. And this sounds terrible, but it's not the same as real basketball. And I don't know how to word it.
No, I hear you. You're right.
Leaning to the league, but it's not the same.
Yeah, maybe she wants to be the best WNBA player ever.
Yeah, maybe she has goals that she's like, I want to break all of these records. I want to break Diana's records. I want to do that. I don't know her personally to be able to say one way or the other, what motivates her.
Well, it's funny. My cousin grew up with her and I do know her and I think she's going. I know her really well.
You heard it here.
I heard it here first.
Breaking news.
All right, Katie, thank you so much. Good talk all the way around, and get some rest, make some dog food, and have fun on Friday.
All right, bye.
Honestly, I